Let me give a warm welcome to you delegates, both returning and new. You have an opportunity to make a real difference. The caucus convention system is a beautiful thing. At no other time during an election cycle does a person have a better chance to get to know candidates, vet them rigorously, build relationships with others who have similar passions for good politics, and have a meaningful influence on who leads at every level of government. It's one-way representative politics is superior to direct democracy. A normal voter, without considerable effort, has a difficult time making as informed a selection of candidates as you will be able to make as a delegate. My name is Christopher Forbush. I am an attorney, but that's as far as I'm going to speak about myself. This video is the first part of a two-part series about electing good candidates. I hope this helps you navigate this and future election cycles. It is my intent to be as helpful as possible to make your work vetting candidates easier. Of the many responsibilities you have as a delegate, the most important of all is that you vote for good candidates. That is a tall order. It isn't as easy as it should be to identify good candidates. A lot of candidates are nice. Many are very personable. Many look and sound the part. They have groomed appearances, great hair, they speak very well. Some candidates have great name recognition. Other candidates parade endorsements around and showcase their experience. And still others are great at sales. They can negotiate, cut deals, and get things done. This is not an exhaustive list, but after surveying many voters over the years, these are the characteristics most frequently cited as influencing a voter's perception of a candidate's fitness for office. Of the characteristics I've listed, none of them is the most important. And even if a candidate had every one of these traits, the candidate still would not necessarily be a good candidate. So what does make a good candidate? There are two other characteristics, almost never mentioned by most voters, that are far and away the biggest influence on whether one is a good candidate. This is ironic because the first of the two is essential. A candidate is not a good candidate without it. And the second is what amplifies the first and makes a candidate not merely good, but outstanding. The number one characteristic to look for in a candidate is whether he or she knows and is guided by correct principles. The number two characteristic to look for in a candidate is whether he or she is a good person. I'll address number one later. Let me explain number two first, being a good person. The world needs good people. Politics could certainly use more good people. But what is a good person? I'm going to list several traits that are indicators that someone is a good person. I'm sure you can identify many more, but these are just a handful that I believe are important. Number one, honesty. Generally speaking, good people do not communicate with intent to deceive others. Good people are truthful about their motives and beliefs. They don't try to hide or disguise themselves, to blend in just to get some advantage, or as a means to some selfish end. We've seen it happen in politics here in the state. Some from one party will cross over to another party to negatively influence that party's processes. This is dishonest. As a people, irrespective of party, we should denounce this kind of behavior and encourage all to be honest. Number two, reliability. Good people commit to their beliefs, irrespective of contemplated backlash or unpopularity. This is not to comment on whether those beliefs are correct or not, nor that reliability alone makes a person good. That's not always the case. However, if a person is good, it is often the case that others can rely on them to follow through on their commitments, oaths, and promises. Number three, morality. Good people are moral people. They want for the well-being of others. They align their behavior with ethical principles. They practice self-restraint even in the face of some improper advantage they could take for themselves. Good people try to do what they believe is right. Number 4, gratitude. Good people are grateful people. A good person expresses their gratitude by words and by actions. Ungrateful people are often bitter, angry, unkind, and generally unpleasant. But it's the grateful person that is often happier, more patient, more hopeful, and more pleasant. The grateful person receives all things with thankfulness. Number 5, kindness. Good people are kind to others, especially those from whom they don't have anything to gain. We've all met people that are nice when they have something to gain. They're nice to their boss, they're nice to those they think are wealthy or popular, they are nice to colleagues, they are even nice to church leaders when they want a high leadership position. It doesn't take effort to be kind to people when one is trying to get something from them. But how about the janitor, the cashier at the store, the worker waiting tables? Good people are kind regardless of the station of the person with whom they interact, and regardless of whether there is something to gain. As a caveat, this does not mean staying silent in the face of misbehavior by others. We can't ignore it out of fear that we might be perceived for being unkind by calling it out. We need to speak up in those instances, but do so with civility. A kind person can speak truth firmly while avoiding personal and improper attacks. Number 6, free from vulgarity. What I am about to say is not my phrase. I haven't been able to confirm who first said it, but for me, it is summarily instructive for how to become a good person. Quote, "To be vulgar is to do that which is not the best of its kind." A good person casts away vulgarity. A good person tries to do the best they can, to do the thing that is the best of its kind in everything they do. That includes having the best speech, the best thoughts, and the best actions. They recognize where they fall short, and they work on improving. How many politicians can you think of that are vulgar? Too many. These are just a few of the many traits of a good person. Now, if we want more good people in society, one of the best ways we can do that is to show society good people. People like to emulate others that they see as respected and honored. We should try to place good people into visible positions to be emulated. Delegates and voters have an opportunity to do this by putting into office good candidates that are good people. Now, the rub. Does being a good person make one a good candidate? No. The sad truth is that many good people have nevertheless governed in bad ways. For example, good people have been very sincere about protecting the public and making people healthy. Arguably good goals, but good people have done violence to people's rights to achieve those goals. You find this all the time in perverse incentives of government programs, often structured with good intentions, but backfire and produce unintended negative consequences. Bans on raw milk, criminalization of plants and medicines, the so-called war on poverty, gun-free zones, stay-at-home and social distancing orders during COVID, coerced vaccination, and the like. In their zeal to do good according to what they believe, they have actually done harm. The road to tyranny, as with hell, is paved with good intentions, often by good people. That is why merely being a good person is not enough to make one a good candidate. But it is also why it is so hard to tell the difference between the two. Outwardly, good people are the type of people we want to be around. We want them as our neighbors, as our friends. We want our kids to associate with them and learn from them. Even inwardly, they sincerely believe in doing good, as they see it, for people and society. But without the guidance of correct principles, a person is not necessarily a good candidate, no matter how good of a person they are. So, back to characteristic number 1. What are correct principles? I give that answer in part 2. I'm Christopher Forbush. Thank you for watching.